welcome to another Fearless Power podcast episode. And I'm so excited to have the most amazing girl right here, Tracy. And I'm really happy to have her because she's our last mini-series salon ownership episode. So we're going to end this season with her. So I'm really excited for that. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you.
Tracy, tell us about the name of your salon.
The name of the salon is Stay Salon in Madison.
Yes. And then we're going to go back a little bit because I know Tracy for a very long time, but we worked together for about a year, 2 years. We know of each other.
Felt like longer.
I think I worked at the salon that we worked together for like almost 2 years, but I never really worked at the area that you worked.
Right.
So we knew each other from like hallways.
Yes.
That. But she was also my mentor. I always looked up to her when I first started, assisting. But Tracy, I wanted to have you here because I feel like you've been doing hair for so long. And you're in the game still, and it's like amazing to see that. And you're such an inspiration because every time I look up to you, I'm like, am I going to make it as long as you did or as long as you're still doing it? So tell us, how long have you been doing hair for?
I've been doing hair for over 40 years.
Yeah, we just did that math.
Yeah.
41 years to be exact.
41
right?
years to be exact. And I'm still very much so in the game.
Yes. And she, which I just, as I'm sitting with her, I'm learning more. Tracy is a colorist. She does not blow out hair or cut or anything, but you started out your career cutting, and that was your passion.
Yeah.
41 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit, what made you get into beauty school, and how old were you? Did you go to Voltac or did you go to a paying?
I went to Voltac.
Okay.
Because I actually had an aunt that lived upstairs from me, and she used to let me brush her hair, and like at 6 years old and 7 years old, I'm not kidding how I loved it.
Yeah.
And she would just fall asleep every night. I would brush her hair. It was so cute. And then one day I go to my other aunt's house. I had a very large Italian family. And I go to my other aunt's house, and she's downstairs in the basement. She has a woman under the dryer, a woman in the sink, a woman in the chair. And I go, oh my God, Aunt Connie's a hairdresser? I think that's what I want to do. And, then I kind of started growing up, and I really felt like that's what I wanted to do, to the point where I thought everybody knew what they wanted to do so much, because that's what a passion I had.
Yeah.
And then we found out about Votech, and it worked out great because then I ended up getting into Votech. So by the time I graduated high school, I graduated beauty school. My cousin had a salon in Cedar Grove, and that's where I started cutting.
Okay.
And he was a phenomenal cutter.
And it was at age 17?
No, even younger, because my mother had to drive me because I didn't even have a license.
Okay.
So it's about 15, turning 16. Like, I missed taking my SATs. It was, I either had to do a bridal party or my SATs. And I remember saying, like, oh God, my mom's not going to be happy because in case I decide, she always was worried, like, what if you don't want to do this? You need to have the stuff, you need to go to college. And I'm like, I knew I wasn't going to go to college. Yeah. I knew this is what I needed to do.
Well, and at that time, was even beauty school a career at that time? Were people even taking it that serious?
No, it was like, really not. It was just like, you were just a hairdresser. It wasn't a career thing.
Yeah. So you started out with the cigarettes and the hairspray and the perms.
Totally. A cigarette while we were mixing color.
Yeah.
I actually worked with a hairdresser that one of his assistants held his cigarette and the other held his blow dryer while we were styling hair.
Can you imagine doing that now?
I know, that's crazy.
We gotta bring that back, right? No, I'm not a smoker, so that wouldn't work out for me.
I know, me either.
So then you started out at your cousin's salon, and then you were doing bridal, cutting, or at that point,
everything.
Oh, you were doing everything. Okay. How long were you there for? And then how was education at that time versus like now? Like, was it you just like watch and do it and take a client? Or
yes. Yes, but there was classes that I would go to.
Okay.
And
what was the big brand at that time?
The big brand was Shades EQ was just starting. It was Majorelle more. It was Logix. It was that Clairol. Like I trained with Clairol. So like out of the bottle, like we used bottle. I was trained using a bottle. We didn't use a brush. There was no real cream products yet. So it was a lot of that, and it was great. I loved it. The education was a lot of big stage work and not so much in-house. Like we went out to these big forums. We were going to AC and doing these shows, and so I was very much a part of those shows because my boss at the time was very involved at that, and we just, were really into it, and and I loved it. But then I went to this one show, and that's when I realized, like, I saw this colorist, this guy from Saks in New York, and I was like, oh my God, I want to be him. He was up there just doing all this hair. I mean, I came from cap foiling. I'm cap highlighting. We were just starting foils.
Yeah.
So we were just starting to hair painting. There was no such thing. Even though he did start painting, he really, it was just small, it was, tiny. And
then you fell in love with the color part of it.
Yes.
And then, so after, how long were you at your cousin's salon? And when
I was
did you
there for
decide
about
to
2 years.
Okay, and then you left and you went?
Then I left and I went to another very large salon where it was departmentalized. And that's where, before I got there, I decided, okay, am I going to do everything or am I going to specialize? And at the time of my career, at that point, specialty work was a big deal.
Okay.
Like, the colorists, like you didn't even go near the colorists. They were like the superstars of the hair, and it was like, oh my God, I want to do that. So then I found a salon that was just really big into hair coloring, and that's where I ended up in West Orange. And I started working for them. And my family was tough because my family was a big, strong family, and he did teach me so much. He was such a great cutter, and I really was killing it with the hair cutting and styling. And so that was a lot for my family, but I knew that I needed to take this back.
Yeah.
And then I just put the brush and scissors down and just started coloring, but then I had to completely start over, and I know it was only 2 years in, but at that point I was busting my butt, So then I went fully back into washing hair where, just for all of these colorists.
Start from the beginning.
And started over again.
Yeah.
And that's where, at that point though, it was interesting because I just naturally started becoming this role of directing what I was doing. There was so much color going on. There was so many colorists, and there needed to be some kind of management with the assistants and how we were doing it. So that's where I started becoming now, not just washing hair, gauging. This one needed this one needed that. Get this over here. Make sure these, in the sinks, we had 8 sinks. That was a lot at the time, and started managing the sinks, and then I became a personal assistant. And then with the personal assistant, he did so much work. But at that point, he started another career. He started construction work.
Okay.
And at that point, now he started leaving all his hair work up to me.
Yeah.
And I'm this young person, and I was like, oh my God, if he comes walking in this room right now and he wanted that hair golder, I better start getting that vision quick. I needed to know what he was looking for quickly and at a young age. Because I knew as soon as he walked in, if it wasn't right, it was my fault. It wasn't his fault that he was in the office building a house right now. It was my fault that, I'm not doing it correctly. And it was pretty interesting.
It's so fun to listen to this because I only know Tracy from being the head colorist of, can we say the name?
Yeah.
DXG. And I always worked downstairs, and she worked upstairs, but she always had such a huge, mentor thing. Like, here, you sit there, you glaze hair. She's formulating for 5 different people. There's 3 people walking in for her. So that's how I know her running your whole show for the entire time.
Right.
That brings it back to now going to the basement.
Right.
And seeing, did you say your aunt or your
grandma?
grandma?
My aunt.
Your aunt. It's like you just said, there's somebody in the dryer, somebody here. And that's where you literally pick that up right from that. And I feel like you can probably relate, you're still kind of like that.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
But in a sense, now, when we talk about, how things are changing, this and that, and I decided that all those years of doing so many people at a time, having 1 or 2 personal assistants, assisting me, COVID changed everything, right?
Yes.
So then it came down to whoa, I don't want to be around 5 people at a time, and my business needed to change immensely. And so but it made it nicer because
Yeah.
I wanted to customize things
Yes.
more, take my time more. I felt like looking back at my career, it was like, ooh, it was almost a little chop shoppy, like slow it down, sister. You know, like, what are you doing here? You got 5 people going, and even though I knew what I was doing on all 5,
100% managed.
there was not one split second I wasn't sure of what was going on.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, spend more time with that person.
Yeah.
Well,
and the beauty industry shifts so much. And
Exactly.
depending what salon you work, you're going with dynamics here at this
Right.
point, right? So
Right.
if the clients that you get at that time was used to that because that's all they saw, so those are the clients you're going to attract.
Right.
Right? The fast, the pacey, the
Right.
personal assistant taking care of certain things. Now you're starting to slow down, you're changing your dynamic, and now you're going to attract different clients. Now
Right.
you want the clients want to say, hey, how was your weekend?
Exactly.
You want to have to be able
Right.
to answer that without having to
Exactly.
like do 3 other things.
well, I feel like I came from an area that was very fast paced,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was a Livingston Short Hills there. Everybody wanted everything in 5 minutes.
Yes.
You know, it was like, they wanted their hair great in 5 seconds, get done, blown out, boom, boom, boom. So that was kind of the pace we all were taking.
Yeah.
It was like very, very fast.
Yeah.
And it worked, and it was great. And now after COVID and that shift, and now it's, you kind of got to go with the times, right? You got to go with
and let's not forget that she's been doing it for 41 years, so she has seen the beauty industry shift every 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, shifts more than 10
4
years.
decades.
4 decades, and she's still like I don't know, it's just amazing how you still have that passion inside of you. Like, I always say, like, when are you going to stop doing hair? And she doesn't even have an answer for that because she doesn't even know.
I know. I wonder.
Yeah.
I like, when I think about my end game, and I think about retirement.
You don't see the end yet.
No, I don't see the end yet.
Yeah, which is so great.
I'm finally just getting started on really what my hopes and dreams were.
Yeah.
Because, at the time when I wanted to open up a salon, and my whole family was like, oh my God, you're doing, 25 women a day. I mean, like, what are you doing here? Why are you doing it for him? Why are you doing it for yourself?
Right.
Well, at that time is when I got divorced.
Okay.
And then I decided to keep my home. I had, custody of my kids. Well, part custody, but mostly had my kids.
Personal things were happening.
Yes.
It wasn't just career.
Exactly. And then I needed that security and that safety. And to leave that safety nest to go do something else was way too scary. And then I let fear kind of get in my way. And I was like, listen, I can manage all these things. I could still take my kids on a vacation, keep my home, prepare my kids for college, and start saving for that, because my ex-husband, was not financially a part of that at all.
Yeah.
And so this was all on me, and I had my goals for my kids. And so the only way I saw it happening was if I stayed put.
Yeah.
Right? So it was easy.
But there's always the right time for everything.
Right.
So, like, even thinking about, like, maybe if you didn't make that decision at that time, maybe you would have been a completely different salon owner.
Right.
So,
Totally.
do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
and I don't live with regret.
yes. But
Right.
the good thing is, like, you're doing it now, and you're doing it. The timing is working out really great for
Absolutely.
you. So you worked at a salon for how many years? So your second salon, you were in it for how long?
37.
37 years of commitment with an owner, which is unheard of.
Unheard of.
And
I have to say, I also worked with people that were there for 15, 20, 10. So I was one of the many that were there. And it was really like what the salon felt like it should be to me, a family, and everybody working hard, and we were all into it, and everybody, doing that thing. It's so unfortunate that it's just kind of a thing of the past.
Yes. So, and then you worked at DHU for 37 years, and I know just from obviously social media and in the beauty industry, you left, and then you went to a different salon.
Mm-hmm.
And can you talk to us a little bit about what salon you went to, how long were you there for, and what happened next?
Yeah, so then I decided to leave and go to another salon because things started changing with me and my boss, and I decided that this is it. I've earned and deserve more, and I'm going to go get more. And
it was timing.
It was
like
timing.
that time was preparing you to be where you are now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I left, and I had a non-compete, and at that point,
It worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked, and it stood me up, boy, like day one.
Yeah.
You know, it was very interesting. And,
Yeah.
and I didn't underestimate the non-compete because I do have family with legal counsel that are smart. And they were like, be prepared. But I don't think you could ever be prepared to
Right.
get stopped dead in
Right.
your tracks. So then I was like, wow. And then that individual needed to decide if he was going to fight for me and put up that legal fight, where at that point, I don't know if he was willing to do that. He didn't know me.
The new salon that you were trying to shift to.
Yes.
You were very straightforward. Hey, I have a non-compete.
Right.
This might be happening. Are you able to back me up? And
Right.
then he was like,
and he was just a little too, you know.
Yeah. Is it worth it?
Right.
Right.
And I came to him with my numbers. I was a numbers girl, so
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
look at my portfolio here.
Yeah.
Look at what I'm coming to this table with.
Yeah.
It's big. There's nobody here doing those numbers.
No.
And he still was like, And then I was like, oh God, geez, now what do I do? And then at the time, my prior boss had called me, and we had a lot of tears, a lot of talks, and I felt like at that point, I wanted to go back. I wasn't 100%, but I'm like, you know what? At that point, I didn't know what to do. Right now, I'm like stuck. Do I go here? And I always believe in faith.
Yeah.
Like for me, and I'm very faithful.
Yeah.
And I just gave it to God. And I know that sounds so weird, but I kept saying like, put me where I belong. And he kept bringing me back to Dieci.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, I'm going back to Dieci. And I got to tell you, my friends and family were like, I can't believe you're doing it.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're going back. And part of me almost felt like a little bit of a failure.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, like, look at me now. I'm going back, like with my tail between my legs. And then boom, sure as shit. A few months later, that salon closed. The owner of that salon decided he was no longer, he didn't want the business anymore.
Yeah.
He wasn't a stylist.
Yeah.
And he just closed shop one day, Christmas, and told everybody it was a party and gave everybody this. Everybody actually thought they were going to a party and then ended up there to find out that the salon was being closed and that was it. And here's your stuff and see you later. And I thought, thank you, Lord. You put me where I belong at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I felt like, okay, now what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, okay, now what am I doing? I feel like I maxed out.
Yeah.
And that feeling of maxing out really weighed on me because I'm not a max out kind of guy. I don't max out, you know, and it's like, what am I doing now? And so I stayed there for a few more years and then it was like, now what?
Well, you totally outgrew it. But you outgrew it before, then you try it and you're like, I can do more. And that's where we talked about all the time in this podcast when we're talking to salon owners, how much the beauty industry, how much you can grow.
Right.
Like you can, there's so much you can do.
Exactly.
You're not just a hairstylist, you're not just an owner, you can really go anywhere, right?
Exactly.
In this industry.
And at that point, I started at that salon at Dieci with myself and one other person, and then grew it to about 15 full-time colorists.
Right.
Now what? Now what am I doing?
Right.
Okay, I did it for somebody else. What are you doing?
Right.
You know, it's like all that time, and you know, here now I'm older. I'm now divorced. My kids are older. I have a fiance who was a very solid force in my life.
Right.
And I had this really strong group of friends and family that I felt very solid at that point.
Yeah.
And now I feel like, okay, what are you doing?
What's
now
the
it's
next
time.
step?
What's my next step?
Yeah.
And that's when I decided I literally just quit and did not have a next step.
Right.
I decided that I needed to rip off the Band-Aid, and because I'm not going to go just find another salon. It wasn't right. I still had the non-compete, right? Had trouble with before, and now what?
Right.
So I basically went into my boss at the time and said, this is what is the story here. I don't know what your end game is, but I'm really starting to see clearly on what mine is and what my next steps are, and they're not connecting with you, so I got to go. Right. And I think he was in the state of shock.
And that conversation is such a hard, all the way up into coming to that conversation, it's like you can't even catch your breath, right? But once you let it out, how much better did you feel?
Oh my God.
Right?
And honestly, I don't even know if he felt like I was truly uncertain.
Yeah.
I think he thought I had a place. I knew where I was going.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I knew one thing. I knew a friend in Denville that I just became friendly with that was going to house me, that I was out of my non-compete, so I didn't cause any trouble, because I didn't want to cause any trouble. I'm not a trouble kind of gal. I'm not a drama kind of gal.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I wanted to just move forward.
You just wanted to work.
Exactly. And so he was willing to do that. Then, my boss and I, we left on really, really good terms. So that felt good. And at that point, I said, let me start looking for a place.
Right.
It was crazy.
So, and then you opened up finally. And then how many, when you first opened, how many stylists, did you have anyone with you?
Yes.
Right.
I did.
You had an assistant.
I had an assistant.
Okay, good.
I had one full-time assistant, which, thank God, because I needed her.
Yes.
And she was, already working with me a little bit part-time. So we were in the groove. That was great. And then I got a receptionist, because I knew I needed a receptionist, because there was no way I can do what I was doing and answer the phone and take appointments.
Yeah.
So I needed that. I had a former colorist that I worked with at my former salon and a hairdresser.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay. And then another friend decided to come. That was also a former friend from the other salon.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, she was only going to do a couple days, but the other girl was going to do 5.
Yeah.
So I needed somebody doing 5, because I was still fully 5 days behind the chair.
And you only doing color at that time, you need blow dry haircuts.
Yes.
Nobody's going to leave wet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was a problem, because, who am I going to get? And who do I like?
Right.
And here I am, like, in no place can I be choosy, right? But I need to be choosy, because my clients were used to only the best.
The best, yeah.
And so I felt like I was getting lucky with that.
Yeah.
And we were going in the groove, and then I got another assistant, and then another assistant, where I threw them on the floor right away.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that was the right thing to do. I came from where I became, I was assisting for 5 years, like crying in an office. Like I'm going on year 6, like when are you going to let me actually put my hand to somebody? To here I just meet these 2 girls, and inside of 6 months, I'm like, okay, I'm now telling them how to blow out hair, and I don't even style hair. And I'm like, nope, go in front of them. Nope, do this, And so, I take my friend, who now is a great stylist, and I take the 2 of these women that are now styling for me, and I'm like, you got to start showing them how to style hair, because I need them immediately. Yeah. And it was pretty interesting. Yeah. It really was really nice how it kind of all started to evolve.
So how long has it been since this?
So now it's
2 years
been,
now?
It'll be 2 years, the end of January.
Okay. And then how many stylists do you have currently working with you?
So now I have a total of 15.
So I do have a question for you. Now you were working under someone for 30-something years, and you were following their path, their culture, how they wanted their business run. Now you're running your own show, you're training your own people, you are hiring people on your own time. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that is any different? Are you doing anything different than you were doing back when you were following a rule, following someone else's steps, or were you always doing your own thing and kind of managing your floor anyways?
Fortunately, he gave me the opportunity to run the show. So a lot of things in growing the department, I did a lot of the hiring myself until I realized at such a young age, now he's making me fire someone, and I'm losing sleep for 2 days, and it's not even my business.
Right.
So then I started saying, you have to do that, and took that weight off myself. But fortunately, he really did trust my training, and he trusted my mentoring. And at a young age, I do believe that I always had hospitality, and I always had values. I liked making people feel great, and I knew how to do it. I knew how to take these girls that are now working in the salon with me, not for me, with me, but technically they felt like for me. That was the interesting thing. They respected me like their boss.
Right.
So it was just a natural thing, where, listen, when the shit really hit the fan and it was bad cop, I was like, that's him.
Yeah.
So that was the beautiful
You're
thing
making an
about
announcement, but that's.
I'm like, this is what he said, and that's on him. So I really was able to. Still,
and then now you're like, well, that's how I feel. So
exactly. So now it's like the reality is that is how I felt, and fortunately, being a good team player and a partner, I did believe in a lot of the values in this, and I had my own values. So, I fought for what was appropriate for them, and so I kind of still feel like I'm doing the same thing. Now it's a little more interesting because now it's my team, right?
Yeah.
And they're working for me, so there's no gray area, right? On where that gray area might have been with the owner and me and them. Now it's like, okay, guys, we know what the deal is.
Yeah.
We know about waste. We know about product usage.
Yeah.
We know about all those things that play a role. We know about mentoring. We know about, if you want to leave early, all the time, that was different when you were worried if he was going to get mad. Now it's like, hey, if you're trying to build a book and you're looking to leave early all the time, what do you want?
Yeah, you have to have those hard conversations now, because now you're working on your business, right?
Exactly.
And then I know from you are behind the chair 5 days a week still?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're trying I know for 2026, her goal is to step out from a little bit, okay?
Yes.
Give a little, so you're not doing everything.
Yeah, I need to start working on the business more and less in the business. The problem is working in the business, I start before everybody, I leave after everybody. I'm having a hard time finding one-on-one meetings.
Right.
It's like nobody wants to hear from me on Monday.
Right.
Nobody wants to talk at 8 o'clock at night when I'm ready to talk.
Right.
So I'm now seeing that transition and finding that difficult. So I've decided that, if you want to grow your business, this is the next move you have to make. You have to come out from behind the chair. You have to start turning over your business, which is essentially what I did for in my past. So now it's just do it again now for yourself. Rebuild. I'm going to start to push those certain clients that understand these people are more than capable of taking care of you. They are at the level that I give you, and just have the faith that they'll stay with the company. And now I can start growing the company.
And growing.
And exactly. And then my new staff and building the staff that I have that might feel stagnant, want to reinvent themselves. These are girls I've worked with for 20 something years. Where are we at now? We're coming out to 2026. Do you want the same things? Do we want to build
And you
career?
are working with people that have such long, as much as experience as you have, and you also have people coming out of beauty school.
Exactly.
So it's like all experiences right now. So
Absolutely.
you have to be able to provide to everyone somehow. Right?
Exactly.
And still live.
And still
sleep.
And still
like have a day off.
Right.
We talk about this all the time. We went out to dinner and we're like, balance. And then we're all like, I just got to this year for myself. I was able to blocking this one day off. I need these 2 days off. This is what I'm doing. I'm not coming to work. I have to delegate. And I think it's so hard when you're coming out from where, because we both came out from the same kind of pot anyways.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to delegate. So I think it's but it's so important. And I think
it is so important. And I feel like at this stage of my life, being in the business as long as I am, one thing I don't want to do, opening my own salon and having my own business, is be the hardest working girl.
Yeah.
There's no medals for that, right? There's no, I want to be smarter, wiser. I want to work really hard, but I want to play hard. I want to have some balance. Yeah. Do I truly believe in work-life balance? I don't know, right? Yeah. Because I'll go home and my kids are like, are you still talking about the salon? Are you still, they're cutting me off, and now I have a daughter in business. Yeah. And now that I'm watching my daughter in business, I'm saying, wow, now I'm really seeing a whole different side, right? Now I'm seeing the whole different business side of business.
We have different eyes now. Your eyes are open to something else.
Totally.
What would you say to anyone that is working at a salon, that may be assistants, or maybe they just got behind the chair within the last 3 years or so? What's your advice for anyone that's building a clientele, because obviously you have clients that's been with you for 41 years.
Right.
How do you maintain those clients behind your chair with you and coming back faithfully to you for all those years? Like, what is like an advice? Because I feel like this beauty industry, like I personally want to create connections with my clients, right? I don't want to just do a full balayage like for 1 year and not have them come back for 3 or 4, or maybe never come back. I want them with me for the remaining of my career. So what is your advice for anyone starting out, or someone that's feeling stagnant right now that maybe was hoping to be busier for the holidays and they're just now seeing their clients?
I think at such a young age, I learned that there was so much talent. I worked around really great people. So there was something that I used to look back and say, like, well, what are you going to do different, Tracy, right? Like, how are you going to be busier? How are you going to stay busy? And I realized that it takes more than just being really good at what you're doing. You need to have that experience. You want to build a community. You want to build an experience and have that relationship. So it's building relationships and experiences on top of doing really great.
Doing really great. Yeah.
And so, then I realized it's sales. You have to be a salesman. Like, so I have to sell, if not just as good as Luana or better, so that how do you come in and decide to come to me instead of you? There's 9 of us, right? There's 9 people doing the same thing I'm doing. What's going to make me stand out? And that was my experience with the client. And so what I would do, and this is how I mentor my own girls, is, all right, so you're doing a highlight or a single process or a balayage. Yeah, you're great. You're doing a great job. But what is going to keep that relationship? Are you engaged with the client? Are you spending time with them? Are you talking to them about them and their hair? It's not always about, so what'd you do this weekend and this and that. I start every client with, how's your hair? Not how are you?
Yes.
And we get to how are you? We get to how are the kids?
Yeah.
That's after I do my job.
Yeah.
And, I have so many clients that are, bi-coastal or they're coming from Florida back and forth, and they'll say, Tracy, oh my God, nobody asks me this many questions about my hair, and I always say, like, how's your hair? Like, I haven't seen you. Even if it's 4 weeks, I do women, how many women I do every 3 weeks? Yeah. It's always about how's your hair.
Yes.
Then it's about how's your kids. And I find that it's those simple little nuances that if we all started to do, and let's talk about your hair, and is it feeling drier? We're in a different season. How's the hair the same? It's not the same.
What shampoos you're going to recommend that's better. Yeah.
Now it's about retail. Now it's about, shampoo and products. And now we're kind of luring you in because now they're talking about that product that I sold them that they really love, that I'm like, do I even remember what I said? Right. But once we start the conversation, of course I remember, and then it comes back. And when I do all of that, we're so much more connected.
It's so professional too.
And it's so professional.
Yeah. And one of the things I tell all my girls starting out, and I constantly talk about it in our monthly meetings, it's like, how's your hair? That's exactly what you're saying. Like, we're doctors. Like, in the end of the day, you go to a doctor to get a physical, you're going to talk about all the aches that's happening in your body. The client wants to come in and they want you to ask the right questions because they don't even know what the right questions are to ask.
Well, I used to consider myself, I used to call myself the hair doctor.
Yeah.
Because...
But we are.
Exactly. You would never come into me and I start right off the bat with, your kids or your weekend. I would start with, how's your hair been? Wow, you've been away. And, what's going on or your experience. Now with all the meds and the stress of life and COVID and, long COVID and all the hair loss that we're experiencing, now I'm into a whole nother era of hair. It's not just color. Now it's hair loss.
Yes. And with the single process clients, so those clients that come in weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, it's always like, how's your hair?
Exactly.
It doesn't, how was the formula last time?
Exactly.
You could be doing a similar formula for 35 years, but you always have to start with that question.
Exactly.
Because you can't mix the bowl before they walk in.
And then it's now we're in a new season.
Yeah.
Why are we doing the same thing that we were doing in July?
We want to keep,
and
you know what? This is another thing that I talk about all the time. And when I get new clients, a lot of the new clients, they say she's been doing the same thing for years. I love my hairdresser. They always start this way because they have, it's so hard to find a hairstylist that you connect with. So when you leave, it's just as hard for them to leave too as clients. Right. So when you get a new client that has been dyeing their hair for a long time, the first thing they say, I love my hairdresser, but I've been getting the same thing
Yeah.
for so long. So you already know that whatever foil pattern she had, you're going to do the opposite because you
Right.
can't deliver the same thing.
Exactly.
So, and it's the same thing with your clients. They don't have to leave you to come back. You can always switch it up because the beauty industry is shifting every like
Exactly.
6 months now, you know?
Exactly.
You got to switch it up for your clients.
And I was always taught too that, you know, when we talk about business and we talk about the hair salon, you know, yes, don't we always want a new client, right? We always want, you know, oh my God, what my book will look like if I get 10 more this month and then 10 more. We don't talk a lot about what we do with the actual client we have and upselling and changing them and getting, maybe you need some extensions. Maybe you need some balayage.
Right.
Maybe your single process should be
Light and
multi-toned.
dark or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of those changes are different things that we're doing and changing it up and keeping it current and keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
So listen, even if it's a change that they don't love and they're like, I hate these highlights, you know, I hate this paint, I want to go back to the darker. Okay, but you tried it.
Right.
I got you out of the box.
Right.
You know, I got you to change before all your cousins, you had a family party, you're like, when are you going to lose that dark brown hair?
Right.
We need to go lighter, you're getting older.
You have to give advice of what looks better on them.
Exactly.
Yes, that's a whole other thing too, giving advice. It's like, you know what? Why don't I switch it up? You know, because a lot of people don't want to get out of their comfort zone either. But when they leave with new hair, they go home, it's the first thing, oh my God, your hair. They're like, now they're going to send you 3 friends, even though they've been with you for 10 years, but because you changed their hair, their friends notice the hair difference. And now they're like, oh my God, where are you going again? Then here we go, referral.
Exactly.
Right off the bat.
Right, and I'm big into the referrals, and I tell my clients,
do you do a referral program?
We do.
What is your referral program?
If you refer a client, the client gets 20 off their service, and the new client gets 20 off.
20%.
20%.
That's great.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then that's a great way to get clients. We are starting a new referral program too. Any client that they get a product.
Oh, that's
they got
great.
a full-size product to go home with.
That's
because you know what?
wonderful.
They all need products going home.
Exactly.
So instead of discounting the service for the stylist or for ourselves, we just give it. I lose it on my retail, but it's fine because we give it clients. So that's how we're doing it.
Exactly.
Here,
I like that.
Yeah.
That's nice. And I feel like retail's important.
Retail is so important, and I feel like a lot of people don't want to try retail because we're so exposed to every retail being everywhere now.
Exactly.
I mean, now you're going to Marshalls, and there's Amica, there's this, there's that. So like, I'm just gonna buy on Amazon. But like, if they try something from your shelf, most likely they're gonna come back and rebuy the product if it was the right recommendation, or they're gonna buy more products.
Right.
So it's just a way of coming back with retail.
Right.
What are your goals for 2026? Do you have anything like set up yet for yourself?
Well, now the fact that
time off.
Time off, God. That's an interesting
You going on
concept.
vacation for New Year's?
I am, actually.
Okay, good.
I am in January. That's my time. Like when, after the busy season and I'm singed, then I like to go away the end of January, the beginning of February, so kind of regroup. And it's a slow time.
Yeah.
I was always also trained, go away. People that go away, hairdressers that want to go away, like in the busiest time, I'm so confused by. Because I'm like, January, we're all like wondering, oh my God, let's get everybody back, But 2026, I would have to say, because we're growing at a really nice pace, and I'm running out of chairs. I just put another chair in. I'm running out of sink space. I need to start thinking about,
What's your game plan?
and how much more do I want? And what am I looking for?
Yeah.
What other services do I want to do? So that's my goal, and what that looks like. And I want waxing, I want makeup.
Yeah.
I came from a full service salon, and I like a full service salon.
Yeah.
And I like that camaraderie.
Yeah.
I want to bring back sexy. I want to bring back, here comes Joan, she's coming in and she sees, oh my God, there's my girlfriend, and oh, my daughter's here, and my cousin's coming in a little bit, and we're all like that environment of community.
And they can get different services when they come in and stuff.
Yeah, so I wanna bring more of that, and I'm stunted right now because of a small spot.
Yeah.
So
isn't that so crazy? I think it's all gonna come to you, and it's all gonna come at the right time.
Thank you.
There's always space here. I always tell her, move in, get everybody in here. We'll start off with La Vida Stay Salon. But I can't wait to see where you're going to end up and where you're going to go and what's going to happen. And I'm so happy you came to chat with us and talk about your life, because I know time is very valuable for you. And I was very honored that I was able to get you in here to talk about.
I'm honored to sit with you.
And you're my last episode for Salon Ownerships, and I couldn't be more happy to have you as the last one for that.
Thank
so
you.
So good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So good.